invitation for this 14th lecture was quite obvious. Following the 35th General Assembly of the OEM, the central theme was good governance and development in the knowledge-based society. And Mr. Ponte, business meeting, leaders of the event, a very important stage, a very important presentation, that has to do with life. In particular, those in situations of vulnerability and with special needs may participate in the benefits generated by the knowledge-based society. And one laptop per child initiative that Mr. Ponte has proposed is precisely addressing this need and reducing substantially the digital demand. I look forward to a very interesting and dynamic presentation, which I am sure that we will all take advantage of that bold initiative, the bold idea, which is no less than having every child with a computer of his own. And that is an idea that worth pursuing, and we are all eager to listen to this presentation. I will give you my proposal. Chairman of the Government Council of the to present the report.
Ladies and gentlemen, who is Nicholas Negroponte? I'll give you a brief description of the gentleman. Nicholas Negroponte is the founder and chairman of the Wonder Software non-profit institution. He is currently on leave from MIT, which stands for Institute of Technology, where he was co-founder and director of the MIT Media Laboratory and Bureau, being senior professor of media technology. A graduate from MIT, Negroponte was the first pioneer in the field of computer design and has been a member of the MIT faculty since 1966. Conceived in 1980, the media laboratory opened its doors in 1985.
Also author of the 1995 bestseller, Being Digital, which has been translated into more than 40 languages. In the private sector, Mr. Negroponte serves on the board of directors of Motorola, Incorporated, and as general partner in a venture capital firm specializing in digital technologies for information and entertainment. He has provided startup funds for more than 40 companies, including Wired Magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, that was in short a description about Nicholas Negroponte. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to use about 30 minutes to do three things. Tell you sort of why we're doing what we're doing, tell you how we're doing it and what we're doing, and then use the end of it to tell you exactly where we are. Now, the people in this room will have the benefit of images over there. And people who are looking at the webcast, unfortunately, will not have those pictures, so I may use extra words to describe what the pictures are. And maybe we could ask the audiovisual to put the first picture instead of the last picture on the screen, so we can start at the beginning. This project is about learning, not about laptops. And that is perhaps the hardest thing I have when I travel around the world writing, because organization in selling laptops. And we are indeed distributing a huge number of laptops, but the purpose is education. And the reason that we do that is very simple. No matter what global problem you are addressing, whether it's the elimination of poverty, whether it's the creation of peace, whether it's solving environmental and energy problems simultaneously, the solution, whatever it is usually multiple solutions, obviously. The solution always includes education. Never is without an education component. And sometimes it just be done with education. And if you look around the world, in rough numbers, there are about 1 billion children in primary and secondary schools. And in rough numbers, half of those children live in the rural parts of very poor countries. And rural areas is usually poor because teachers who have been well trained usually have no interest in going back to or into a rural part of the country. We've lost the first slide again. There we go. Maybe we can leave that on the...
One by one.
So, when we decided we would look at how we decided to look at the hardest problem, the youngest children, the most remote children, and the most poor children. And we look at it from the point of view of learning, not learning something. And there's actually a profound difference. I spend a lot of time traveling in the developing world, and I might go to Africa, a remote place. It doesn't even have a road. You have to walk the last distance. And you find a school where somebody has found 2 or 3 desktop PCs that are connected to a battery or a generator, and the teachers are very entrepreneurial, and it's a one-room school, and they have this all set up, which is very heartwarming until you look at what they're doing. And they're teaching the kids Excel and Word. And it's heartbreaking, because why do the kids learn Excel and Word? The teacher says, well, what else are we going to teach them that might help them get jobs in the city when they grow up? That's rubbish. The children should be making things. The children should be making music. They should be writing computer programs. They should be making images. They should be learning by doing. And the thing is not to learn Excel or some particular program, it's to learn from it. And the ego at MIT has been doing this for many years. In fact, further it goes back to 1982 in Senegal, where we were using Apple computers with children in school before the IBM PC was on the market. And the person whose name you should write down and look on the web is Seymour Papert, A-P-E-R-T. And Seymour's theories are really at the root of everything we do. And what Seymour observed in the late 60s and early 70s, in fact, on April 11, 1970, the first presentation, a very large public one called Teaching Children Thinking. And what he and his colleagues observed was when a child wrote a computer program, using the child's language for writing a computer program, the child had to understand very profoundly what he or she was doing. So if you wrote a program to make circles, you had to understand what a circle was. It wasn't just words, it was something that you then wrote a program, and more importantly, when you wrote that program, it didn't work the first time. It never did. And instead of being circles or lines all over the place, and kid made a mistake, and the child goes back and debugs the program, looks at what the behavior was on the screen, fixes some things, tries it again, and maybe on the second time it's a circle, maybe it isn't, but on the third time, fourth time, eventually it's a circle. And what's important
at this point of the story is not that it became a circle, but that the child was involved in debugging. And so we found in the 1970s and 80s that children who did this applied the concept of debugging to their own learning. So when they went into a spelling bee with 10 words and they got 2 wrong, when I went to school to get a B plus or a B in spelling was very good. I was very proud to get a B because I was a bad speller. And I had no interest whatsoever in the 2 words I got wrong. Because it was a B, and B was good, so who cared about those 2? Put them under the rug. The kids who were writing programs became very interested in those 2 words because that was debugging. And did they get it wrong because they didn't understand that I became before E except after C or whatever? And we found that children who were writing programs suddenly were better learners because they had learned about learning. They had learned something that they could apply to themselves. School isn't done that way. School, we still think we have to give them exams and training and sort of repetition and memorization and do multiplication tables and all of that. There's a very big shift underway. And so perhaps the biggest thing the $100 laptop will do on this planet is to change education. Because the truth is, the way we teach children today, even in the richest countries in the world, kills half the children. Half the children are dead on arrival. They don't make it through it, but they're very creative, they're very high energy, but they just didn't make it. And they didn't make it because they weren't compulsive, serialist little children that were well disciplined. They were hyperactive, energetic, sort of parallel spatial thinkers that got into trouble. So this isn't just for educating the poorest and the most remote. This is also very, very profound. And we're finding that working in developing countries is in fact perhaps better because they're so desperate for the children to learn. They'll use any technique possible and they don't have these huge legacies. For me to change education in the United States would be very hard. First of all, we have 30,000 school districts. That can't change the United States or Europe. They're entrenched. Worse, we admire countries like Korea and Taiwan, whose children are absolutely brutalized, but do very well on the tests. And teach to test is a fundamental mistake. Now, tell that to the United States, tell it to this administration, tell it to a European country, they won't agree with you. Brazil gets it. Argentina gets it. Thailand gets it. Nigeria gets it. So we're finding that in fact, even though our mission is developed in developing countries, that we find more open reception to new ways of learning in some of those countries. So that's our mission. The first slide is simply to just say that we've been doing this for a long time. This isn't that I woke up 2 years ago and said, let's build a $100 laptop. We've been doing this since 1968. I've been on the faculty at MIT since 1966, and it's been a long trajectory, but everything has sort of pointed more or less to where we are. Next slide. If this interests you, this is Seymour Papert 25 years ago in Senegal. The children don't speak English or French. They spoke Wolof, and they used those keyboards like ducks in water. There was just no difference between the behavior of that child and the children in suburban Massachusetts or New York. Just none. And